Hi everybody, it's Az here from HeelvsBabyface. Final Fantasy 15 is a story about 4 members of a Japanese boy band that constantly crash their car over and over and over again in an effort to have the world's sexiest mechanic, Cindy, constantly bend over its bonnet and look to see if she can tighten any of the nuts. It's too obvious. Other than that, nobody knows what happens in this game because that's as far as anybody's been able to get. Guys, this is looking a little bit creepy now, you know? Like, what are those Japanese cartoons where the dudes surround the chick in the train and then they... I mean, this is just what I've heard. I mean, I've not seen any of these. This is just, you know. And, oh well, look, the car's been fixed. It's time to hit the open road and discover what else is in store for the... Nope, crashed it again. Cindy! I love this game. Hi everybody, it's Az here from HeelvsBabyface with my first impression. Yes, it's a precursor to the first impression of Final Fantasy 15. This game releases in just 4 days' time and I cannot wait. I've been through 3 demos so far and seen the game evolve into something rather special. The first demo came out approximately a year ago, Final Fantasy 15 Duskai. Then about 6 months ago, we had the Platinum demo. And then middle of this month, only on the Japanese PlayStation 4 store, we had the Judgment Disc demo, which I've had to do a wee bit of jiggery-pokery to get my hands on. Yes, it's in Japanese, but my goodness me, it still flows brilliantly. So because this is a first impression, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the combat system of the game because it has received some significant changes. Now, one thing that separates Final Fantasy 15 from all the other games is how action-orientated the combat system is, and yet still intrinsically feels as if it belongs in a Final Fantasy title. What you're going to see on the screen at the moment is me doing a few dodges and then just doing a few attacks, and we'll put it all together in a little combat simulation which I'll go through. And I will be explaining stuff in terms of the PlayStation 4 pad, as in circle, square, etc. So if you are looking to purchase this game on the Xbox One, just adjust the buttons accordingly to the A's and the B's. You know what I'm talking about there. So if you want to dodge an attack in Final Fantasy 15, you simply hold down the square button. And when the attack comes in, you just slide out of the way. And then if you want to attack, you just use the left joystick to make your movements, and then use the circle to actually swing. Now, parrying comes in where you see that symbol on the screen. It's shouting out that the attack which is coming in is going to be parryable. And what you can do with a parry is block it and then counter-attack to deal significant damage to your opponent. Comes in, block, and then do massive damage. And again, all it is holding down the square button when you see that the attack is going to come in, block it, and then smash it away. Now, one-on-one, you should be able to dominate, especially early doors, if you're going to get parryable attacks. But Final Fantasy, you come across huge groups out in the open world, the vast open world, which we'll see very shortly. And when attacks come in then, because there's going to be so much going on in the action-based combat, you have to be very aware of your surroundings. Now, if you're a little bit worried that it's maybe overcomplicated, it's not. Everything here feels really, really fluid indeed. In actual fact, you can look like a top fighter with only holding down a couple of buttons. Although you are still doing the dodging and you are still doing the attacking, you're looking a little bit like a pro. So everything that's coming in here, just making sure that I can see when a parryable attack's coming in, and then just regularly doing a dodge, and then looking to see where I can actually make my strikes on the opponent. Boom, parry, bang, counterattack. Gladio gets knocked down on his ass. Next up, we're going to have a look at warping, and warping is a great offensive and defensive ability in combat. Noctis will throw his sword and then warp to it, covering vast distances in literally the blink of an eye. Now that can get you in and out of combat very, very quickly indeed. For example, I can use the R1 button to lock on to Gladio, and then I can warp in for an attack which deals more damage than a regular attack and also staggered Gladio. However, if I wanted to escape, for instance, I could warp up to high ground, and that would actually recover my MP and my HPs really, really quickly indeed, and then turn that defense into offense and go straight back down again, whacking Gladio for a huge amount of damage. This is a brilliant method to use in combat. Also, if you find yourself low of mana and not able to warp to anywhere high to get it back up, just go behind a rock, go behind some cover, hold down the square button and get your MPs back really quickly. So let's put all that together in a combat simulation. Warping is using the triangle button on your pad. So just R1 to lock onto your target, hold it down, and then triangle to warp in, and then circle to launch an attack after the initial hit. I got struck, lost a little bit of health, warped up to high ground, just holding down the triangle button, and then warped down into combat, and then boom, just got a little bit of separation, and once more, Gladio is on his backside. But let's run this scenario past you. Everything so far is going rather hunky-dory. What if I lock onto an opponent and then bang? I barely do any damage and he knocks me on my backside. I warp back up to high ground, lock on, warp in for the attack, bang, bugger all damage, knocks me on my backside. What it means is the attack that I'm trying to use, the weapon that I'm trying to use, in this case the one-handed sword, is simply not strong enough to break through my opponent's guard or defenses. What I need is something heavier, which is going to land bigger blows. But this comes with its own problems. Now I use the D-pad to move away from the one-handed sword, which is currently on the up, to the left on the D-pad, which is the two-handed sword. Now when I warped in that time, I did some significant damage to my opponent, but because it was slow and I was trying to wield it as if I was wielding a one-handed sword, I was leaving myself open to a counterattack. So instead of just swinging once and dodging out of the way, which I likely should have done, I was trying to chain the big blows together and allowing my opponent to retaliate. So although I was still hitting it for significant damage, you've got to be very cautious about what damage is going to be coming in to you as well. Now, so far, all we've been talking about is weapons, 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 and abilities. Why don't we have a look at some magic? Final Fantasy games are rife full of magic, and in this one, initially, it looks like you have three types of magic available to you. You've got fire, you've got frost, and you've also got lightning. In this example, we're going to use a little bit of fire. So even though this is a Japanese menu, and I have no idea what any of it means, I had to kind of like stagger my way through this, I was still able to work out which weapon was actually providing the magic ability. And it's one right at the far right hand side of this menu. There we go. The symbol gave it away. And I placed it on the down on my D-pad. So now pressing down, I've selected magic, and then using the circle ability, which is the ability that you'd normally use for attacking, I've locked onto my opponent, and then whoosh! Absolutely set it alight. Magic, of course, being a very powerful equalizer early doors in games like Final Fantasy, and depending on obviously how you want to construct your builds, can be a wonderful ally later on in the game too. But of course it goes on a cooldown after you've utilised it, and there's also, I think like most shows are saying nowadays on TV, there's a price to pay when you're using magic, because when you use your magic abilities, they also in this game, at least with fire for instance, leave it open that you yourself might take a little bit of damage. Now what if I was to warp in Suddenly, I moved too close to the flames and I got set alight a bit. Now, it didn't seem to do any damage per se, but I wouldn't have liked to have stuck around in that fire to see what it did do. And you notice how the cinders have also spread slightly across the battlefield as well. Now, because your magic does go on a significant cooldown, once you use it, switch to another weapon, whether it be a two-handed weapon or a one-handed weapon in the meantime while it's recovering, and then still do a little bit of attack to your opponent, get up to high ground, use your warping if you need to. Zoom, there you go, try to do a little bit of hitting, and then finish off your opponent if you can. And what I'm going to do now is going to switch to a much quicker form of attack, couple of daggers, warping in, bang, bang, bang. So combining magic with your weapon abilities is also a very strategic way of performing combat in Final Fantasy 15. Now, although Noctis is the only character that you will play in the game, you are still with 3 NPC friends of yours. Prompto, who's just gone sliding in there. We've got Gladio, who's actually our sparring partner at the moment. And then there's Ignis. Now, when you're fighting, these NPCs will help you out both actively and passively. Actively by you shouting an order by using a resource. This bar here will fill up to 3 times. And every time it fills up a segment, you can bark off an order to one of your NPC friends and they will perform an attack. When it goes into their attack, that it will see things from their perspective, and that gives you a wee bit of immunity with whatever is going on the battlefield. And then if you time the circle button just right at the end of their attack, then you will join in and do significant damage to your opponent as well. Now, that is an active method that they're helping out. There's also a really cool passive way that they can help out. For instance, if an attack was coming in and the parry option came available and you parried the attack, if Gladio or if Ignis was nearby to you when that parry came in, they would actually help out in the parry, which again will deal much more damage to the opponent that was attacking you. Your NPCs can also help out defensively as well. Gladio smashes me down to 0 HPs, but in Final Fantasy 15, that doesn't mean that it's game over. I'm just going to be staggering around the battlefield. Now, one of the NPCs can come up to you, pat you on the back, and you get a little bit of HP back, ready to resume the fight. The same happens for you if you want to help out a struggling NPC. Prompto, in this case, is the one that's dropped to 0. You can run up to him, press the square button, it pats him on the back, he gets a little bit of HP back, and Prompto is ready to fight as well. Now, not just this, but if you're at low health and you want to get it back up ASAP, you can also use potions and items in the battlefield. But instead of opening up a clunky menu system, in this game, you simply press the R2 trigger, and this will bring up the consumables that you can use in combat. You select the consumable that you want, and then you select the person who can utilize that consumable. If you're at full health, then a potion isn't going to do anything to you. It won't help at all. And if you're too far away from somebody, then you won't be able to pass them an item. So you'll have to select them as the person using it, then the item, then the potion, and now both of us are back up to full health. So let's go out into the world itself. Let's have a little bit of a look at Judgment Disc, Final Fantasy XV's final demo, and it looks unbelievable. This huge open world. This is an open world game. Now, you can fight combat on your terms. So instead of opening up with that one-handed sword, I actually switched to the lance and then warped in with the lance, doing a devastating first attack, knocking the scorpion completely off guard and then finishing off really quickly. But it does absolutely munch your NP there, as you can see. But those Scorpios got annihilated. I picked up a quest to do a little bit of hunting. Yes, you get hunting quests in this game. These are the items. You can see the creatures. They have the mark above them. Warping in now. Whack, whack, whack. Got the one-handed sword here because I want to do some very quick attacks on this. Now, making sure that I do my dodges as well. Look at that. Parry. Counter-attack, ouch, did big damage to that opponent, managed, to get knocked on my backside on that time, but doing plenty of dodges as well. So it's not just all about offense. You got to understand when to take your finger off the smash button and put it onto the dodge button, and just think about your next point of attack. Managed there again to block that, and a couple of them joined in that time on the parry, and it took huge damage on the backside there. Dodged that parry. Another parry. There you go. Blocking that. Smash. So utilising all the nice little skills. So it looks like I'm kind of fighting a little bit like a boss at the moment, but this is just being aware of what's going on, seeing when the parryable attacks are coming in, making sure that I just warp out of combat to have a little look where all the other NPCs are, so they're not going to go around smashing me. I've got no mana, so I'm going to warp up to the top here. Look at that, all my mana's back immediately, and then offensively warp in and then immediately jump onto the final opponent. Let's all group up on this now, and I'm teaming up, bang, with Ignis. And Ignis and I absolutely tear it to pieces. So satisfying, it's unreal. But with that said, I still made a massive mistake on that last fight. A mistake in as much as, okay, mistake might be a little bit of a harsh terminology because you fight battles the way that you want to fight battles. But I didn't utilise my NPC's ability. I didn't hit the L1 buffer button and tell one of my NPC friends to launch an attack. We come up here to a mini-boss as part of a quest to get our car back. And this is screaming to us now, oi, I'm going to fill up your bar to maximum, utilise all of those with your NPCs to launch their attacks. So here we go. Let's have Ignis do his first. So he throws his dagger into the boss. I perform the dagger attacks, and then I use the circle at the end to do a huge attack on top of that. Now I'm going to choose Gladio. Gladio's going to come in swinging his two-handed sword, and again, time the circle to jump in and smack. The boss knocks us up in the air. I missed the parry, but it gave me the opportunity to time a warp, so I didn't land on my ass, and I timed it correctly. Managed to warp away from danger, and then I used the last one with Prompto. Prompto is using his range attack, and I jumped in at the last minute as well to deal some damage. Now, what the timer at the top of the screen means, I do not know, but obviously you want to try and kill the mini-boss within that timer in case it fails the quest or whatever. But with those three NPC attacks, just look how low the health on the mini-boss is, and bang, we can just finish it off with some basic attacks. There it goes on its backside. There was still about 19 odd seconds to go. I said satisfying a couple of minutes ago to describe the combat. You have no idea. Honest to God, you have no idea. It feels so good. This coming Monday, the 28th, I'm going to be streaming Final Fantasy 15 Judgment Disc, the final demo leading into the game's release 24 hours later. And you can see for yourself the open world environments. You can see how the camping system works here, making it very relevant. You can see the sprawling vistas that this game has to offer, the movement structure, the really cool little secrets, the day-night cycle that brings different creatures and different mobs into the game of varying difficulty levels, much higher than the daytime as well. And really the kind of options and the amount that's going to be in this game. And then from Tuesday onwards, I'm going to be streaming Final Fantasy 15 as a whole product, bringing you some early impression videos about what I feel as the game begins to unravel in front of us. But from what I've seen so far, with the way that it looks, with the way that it plays, with the ideas that seem to be behind it, the word quality is just all over this. It's not just hype. I think we really might be onto something here. Something very, very special indeed. So, I really do hope that you enjoyed the vid. If you did, do get a thumbs up and also subscribe to my channel. Follow me on social media and Twitch for live streaming. Links, they're in the description down below. And I'll be back with some more stuff very soon. You take care, everybody. Bye-bye. Hi everybody, it's Az here from HeelvsBabyface with Emergency Az number 29. Emergency Az videos, raw reactionary type of videos to breaking news within gaming. Today, dealing with Ubisoft, or Ubisoft, whichever one you prefer. I actually like to bounce between two, just to trigger people.